it going? Charles Boneston here. We are going to be talking about one of my favorite books about food. I actually have Grain Brain, which is right behind me, right there. And today we're actually going to be talking about Brain Maker. Same author, David Perlmutter, PhD, MD, Dr. David Perlmutter. This was an amazing book. Maybe it is an amazing book because not a lot of people know about it. I'm into the law of attraction. I'm into how you think, how you feel. It's all in the brain. And this is really the opposite. It's what you eat, which is more important than what you actually think about. Yeah, okay, I'll take that back. Is that what he says in the book is that what you eat affects you more than you think. And there's a lot of things that we go through on a daily basis that we don't even, we just subconsciously just go through life and we just eat the same food as we did yesterday, and we don't know why we're depressed, why we have ADHD. And he brings in other serious issues like autism. And he says there's not a direct link from what you eat to autism, but there are studies and there's more proof on how, because literally autism I think has gone up like 5 or 6-fold in the last 10, 5 or 6-fold out of the last 10 years. There's a graph in the book, and it's like every 10 years, and it's just like this, straight line. Maybe because we can detect it easier, maybe whatever the case is. But he brings up a lot of things. It's a heavy read. Listen, it took me almost a week and a half to go through it, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm trying to do a book a week. And there were a couple of times where he kind of lost me, and he mentioned it, which is funny. He's like, listen, don't worry about the big words. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to remember that in the book, but it's a huge read, and obviously on the outside is broccoli. So number one is what causes depression, anxiety, obesity, a lot of these things. We have microbes in our gut. And essentially what we eat affects our brain. So we eat it, it goes down, the microbes either see that it's nutrition, like it's carrots or broccoli or other fruits and vegetables, or it's refined sugars, yeast, and all this other crap. And he says that affects your mood. That then goes back up into your brain. A lot of people are like, oh, of course, I know that. Well, it gets worse because I think he said 60% of Americans this year will take antibiotics. And antibiotics essentially inflame these microbes, which then causes all these health concerns. And to be honest, he started going into Alzheimer's, he started going into depression, and not himself, but he started touching on those subjects based on the food that we eat. Based on the food that we eat. And he brought up this country that I think outside of Italy. And he said that they have the highest amount of 90-year-old men, 90 or 100-year-old men, and they do manual labor until they're in their 80s and 90s. They eat great food, they're exercising, they're out in the sun, they have no refined sugars, carbohydrates are at a zero, and if they are, they're natural. In other words, like literally they take the grain and they make whatever they need to. It's a natural based instead of what we have, which is like Wonder Bread and all that other garbage. He also talks about two areas which are pertaining to women. One, which is most women go through C-sections when they don't actually need to go through C-sections. And he says C-sections are awful because so what he says is if it's mandatory and it's absolutely necessary, yes, go through a C-section. But he said when the baby does the natural birth, the baby actually picks up things on the baby's skin and all over him or her that they need throughout life, the bacteria, the good bacteria that protects them. And when you do a C-section, they don't go through the regular track of entering into the world, and they don't pick up that necessary bacteria. They also said that breastfeeding is necessary. He brought up so many different studies that said they linked ADHD, they linked autism, they linked just throughout life, just all these different areas that would affect a child if you do a C-section and you do formula, or if you do a natural birth and you do breastfeeding, there's a huge difference because that's nature. Nature is doing that. And it sounds obvious, but unfortunately, women, they don't want to, and listen, I understand, but these are the facts, is that if the baby goes through a natural birth instead of through the C-section, this is what you're potentially risking. He also mentioned probiotics. We need to have more probiotics. Healthy meats, grass-fed meats. It's like some of it is obvious, but there's other omega-6 instead of omega-3 oils. It's necessary for two reasons. One is that it's the longevity of your health. So in other words, you're obviously going to live longer without the deterioration of the brain, the deterioration of the body, the deterioration of the mind, and your enthusiasm and your energy are the other areas. Is that, yes, you're going to live longer, but on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to feel exhausted. Your body's going to be rejuvenated. You're not going to be as full. You're not going to want the sugar. You're not going to want the carbohydrates. You're not going to want the McDonald's or something like that. It's because your body's actually not getting fed. And one movie that I do recommend is Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It's a documentary. If you haven't heard of it, it's amazing. They actually came out with two, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead 2, which is more the science about it. And the other one is more of a documentary of him going just juicing for, I think, 45 days. 45 days or 90 days, I don't know, one of those. But I now have a juicer, and I juice every single day. And the difference that I feel when I juice as opposed to when I have like oatmeal in the morning, it's massive. I literally go through the day, and it obviously starts in the morning. My day it literally just launches. I cannot highly recommend this book enough. I'm going to be also doing a review on Brain Grain, I don't know, one of those, which is also by Dr. David Perlmutter, but highly recommend this. You have to pick it up. You need it for your health and for your kids' health. If it's not for yours, and you're not going to go through the habits of changing, I understand my parents are, in their 60s and 70s, and they're in their set ways. They just do what they do and don't bother us and everything else, which is unfortunate, but it's as long as you yourself read it for your kids and you make sure that they get in the right habits of eating correctly. And it's huge things like ADHD, Alzheimer's, autism. There's studies in there. Highly recommend picking it up. Anyway, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We come out with a video pretty much every single day. And I read and review a book every single week. Right now, we are going through, it's actually at work. The book is The Upside of Fear by Kelly McGoglin. Sorry if I butchered that. But anyway, subscribe to the videos. Talk to you guys soon.